Did you know that East Malaysia has a rich marine biodiversity? The rich sunlight and clean water are perfect conditions for marine life, and especially for the farming of seaweeds. These are the two main types of seaweeds cultivated in Malaysia. They are Kappa ficus and Eucuma. These seaweeds are valued for the carrageenan content, which is extracted after the process of sun-drying. Carrageenan is a raw material that is widely used in the food, pharmaceutical and cosmetic manufacturing industries. Seaweed cultivation is a family and community-based economic activity in the state of Sabah, providing a livelihood for remote coastal communities, as well as generating income for the nation. However, our seaweed production has been reducing over the years due to several factors, which are climate change, lack of downstream marketing, poor farm management, disease and pest infestation, aging cultivars, intense competition, lack of coordination between stakeholders. Pests and diseases are one of the major hurdles in seaweed farming. These problems greatly reduce the quality and yield of carrageenan from Kappa ficus and Eucuma seaweeds. Environmental stresses like climate change and water pollution may cause ice syndrome in seaweeds and lead to huge losses to farmers when parts of the infected plants bleach and disintegrate. There are two types of pests that are a threat to seaweed growth as they compete for sunlight and nutrients. They are fouling algae and epiendophytic filamentous red algae. Fouling algae are removed from cultivation lines to curb its infestation. This is easily done by weeding. The growth of epiendophytes is best prevented through good farming practices. Thus, to avoid any issues with pests and diseases, good site selection and farm practices must be done to ensure healthy seaweed growth. Therefore, the correct conditions to establish a seaweed farm should be a farm site with adequate sunlight, good water flow, and non-polluted water. Apart from suitable farm site conditions, it is equally important to ensure the use of healthy propagules with no wounds and signs of disease or pests. It is also important to know where the seaweed comes from so that quarantine measures can be taken if needed. Isolation and quarantine will ensure new propagules do not bring pests and diseases into the farm. Moreover, farm equipment also needs to be cleaned and sun-dried before and after use. For seaweed farm maintenance, farmers need to remove the fouling algae and the bleaching parts of seaweeds on a regular basis. These parts should be discarded on land and not thrown away in the sea. In cases of disease outbreak, when 10% of the seaweeds become bleached, it is important to increase the distance between crops by removing the affected seaweeds to reduce the spread of disease. However, if severe disease outbreak happens, with more than 50% of seaweeds infected, farmers need to rapidly harvest all seaweeds and stop planting for 45 days and report the case to government offices from Department of Fisheries (DOF) for further action. Declining seaweed vigor and productivity may have happened because we have been using propagules of the same few cultivars since the 1970s. Since no sexual reproduction is involved, this will lead to a lack of genetic variation. To ensure sustainability of the industry, research is required to develop cultivars of Kappa ficus and Eucuma that are well adapted to a changing environment. Selection and development of cultivars resilient to climate change and epiphyte infestation with fast growth rate and high carrageenan yield is vital to sustain the industry. This cultivar selection process can be facilitated by studying the DNA or genetic material of the different species and varieties of seaweeds. Seaweed genetic material can be studied and documented by first extracting DNA from the seaweed. Next, amplification of specific gene regions using polymerase chain reaction (PCR) will be done, and this is followed by gel electrophoresis and DNA sequencing. together with tests on growth rates, carrageenan yield, and etc. This helps us identify and establish new cultivars. These new cultivars can be deposited in biobank facilities to be maintained, studied, and improved for long-term use. These new cultivars will also later be distributed to farmers. According to the current findings, there's an indication that there are wild strains of Kappa ficus striatus, Kappa ficus malaysianus, and Eucuma denticulatum in Malaysia. However, it's believed that there are more of these wild strains out there. The setting up of biobank and marine protected areas are important in conserving these indigenous bioresources. Therefore, conducting research will help us create better cultivars for the improvement of seaweeds farming. These beneficial results from the research will help secure the income and livelihood of the coastal communities, as well as boost the competitiveness of the Malaysian seaweed industry. In conclusion, the development of the Malaysian seaweed industry heavily depends on the collaboration between all respected parties. So, let us work together towards a better and more sustainable seaweed industry in Malaysia. A huge thanks to the Department of Fisheries officers, farmers, factory owners for their valuable support, making this 3-year project a success. And our gratitude to GlobalSeaweedSTAR for funding this impactful project.